Let's have a very good morning. Say a very good morning, I should say. Ryan Sabey. Ryan, good to see you, man.
Morning, Mike.
I mean, I came out of the show yesterday, right? We looked up at the TV casually, and I'm going, what's going on? What is Starmer doing? Standing in that Jeep with Macron, looking absolutely and utterly ridiculous for all the world, like he didn't know why he was there. And even when I look at it now, you can't quite believe it. Who on earth thought that was a good idea?
It was quite extraordinary. You kind of expect most prime ministers, presidents to go around in their armoured cars or their chauffeurs, but to see them go around one of those little sort of armoured little jeeps was the thing
that was really odd as well is because people obviously compared it to Churchill. That's clearly what I suppose somebody in Labour thought would be a good look. The first prime minister to go back to France.
I was staggered by that. I personally, you'd have thought over the course of the last 80 years or however long, there would have been somebody
might have done it.
But it's since 1944.
I know, and of course people say who justify what he did was. There's a lot of British servicemen who died in France, northern France, they're still buried there, all of that. That's not really the point. The thing that was different about the Churchill parade was that basically there was throngs of people, there was thousands of people thronging the streets because they just won the war. On this one, there's nobody. There's literally nobody manning the streets. There's a few members of the armed forces, but no public at all. Almost as though they're frightened to let the public anywhere near them in case they chuck eggs at them.
Yeah, and also you just wonder whether the French police and the military just wanted to keep everyone at sort of arm's length, and as they go down the Champs-Élysées and go around Paris, that they just make sure that there's absolutely there's no public there at all.
It was just a very odd look, the whole thing. It was kind of surreal.
Yeah, no, exactly. And also, I think one thing that the government tried to do, they saw the result of the US election last week, and they were sort of thinking, well, if there is an option of meeting Macron, perhaps we can tie it in with that. Right. But I think they had one eye on the Trump result and just sort of trying to slot it in there.
Well, this is the thing, because supposedly one of the reasons that Keir was there was to sort of broaden out and sort of hold up, if you like, European relations, as if, and I was watching on Talk last night several commentators talking about how he's kind of jumped the wrong way, because what we want to have is good relations with the US, not to maybe improve them with the European Union.
Yeah, well, this is he's trying to ride two horses, and perhaps he can. So he's obviously got to pivot towards the European Union and France and Germany, obviously big trading partners. But on the other side, a lot of people will say, why isn't he's got to take advantage of the benefits of Brexit in terms of striking the free trade deal with them. So he's just got to make sure that he keeps both partners close, actually. Yeah. And very interesting overnight. There's been lots of comments, and he's very keen not to criticise Donald Trump, particularly when it comes to things like climate change, where he's obviously at the summit now. And I think he just wants to say, look, Donald Trump can say what he wants to say about this. I'm going to concentrate on what I want to say.
Yeah, indeed. And so he's gone to Baku, where he is right now. There's a press conference, I think, later on this morning in Azerbaijan. Not very many other world leaders have actually bothered to go. No, but the Taliban are there.
I think on one level, you kind of got to ask yourselves, why is Sir Keir there? Right. I think one of the things is it's his first as Prime Minister, so I feel like he just needs to be there and show willing.
Maybe he doesn't want to have Millipede running around on his own.
Well, I think there is that. I went to it last year in Dubai, and Miliband and Lamy were both there, but Keir was there as well as leader of the opposition. Probably just to maybe to keep them in check. But I don't know if you remember the criticism that Rishi Sunak got for not trying to get out of attending for many weeks last year. And he came under, a lot of abuse. I think Keir probably thought, for the sake of a day away, even though he spent a lot of time away since he's got to power, that it was just worth.
But that's the other thing, isn't it? He's getting criticism now for not spending enough time in the UK, and his people are batting it aside, saying, look, he needs to build these, international, relationships. He needs to, get out there around the world and make sure everybody knows who he is. But, the thing about the COP system is that COP29 now has been kind of discredited, hasn't it? Because COP28, COP27, COP26 in Glasgow, which was run by the Tories, was supposed to be the last one. Yeah. And we've had 4 since then.
I think what the thing is, I think you have to decide, does your leader, does your Prime Minister actually decide to go to the big ones, and those small sort of interim ones, whether it's the one in Baku, you just send your Foreign Secretary, you send your Energy Secretary. Right. But it is interesting that the likes of Modi, Biden, Trudeau, Scholz, I don't think is going. So all these big players. Yeah. But he's going to make. I think he's making a speech. He's certainly doing a press conference there this morning. So you just think he's just trying to try and tell our international partners that we are taking this seriously.
Yeah. But, I mean, the fact is that the public are not taking it seriously, and so the public would probably rather wasn't there. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people were asking me this morning, is he going to be back for PMQs? You say he is, which is a good thing, because they want to see him back in Britain. Yeah, no, exactly, and we want to see him being held to account. There's obviously lots of big issues around. I think we see some labour market statistics out this morning. Looking at a slight rise in unemployment's up since they've been in charge.
And then not only do you tally that with the rise in national insurance for business, it's going to make things very, very difficult for businesses of all sizes.
And that's not going to filter through the system for unemployment, probably for maybe 6 months.
Yeah, totally. So you just wonder if there's any mitigation the government can put in place.
They've got the farmers' problem going on. I mean, there's going to be a big demo, I think, next weekend. Jeremy Clarkson's going to be heading it. A lot of people think Jeremy Clarkson's a real figurehead for a movement that could possibly become a massive problem for the government.
Well, it could well be. I mean, does he stand for? Does he want to think about standing for Parliament or be some sort of big figure outside of the sort of political sphere and exert pressure that way? But in the way that you go back to Alan Bates and the Post Office, how he affected change. Yeah. You look at these people who stand outside of the sort of normal realms of doing politics. Yeah. They can make massive changes.
And they can't just keep coming up with this kind of rhetoric that this is all about rich people and basically giving away why they've done these things, because Steve, Steve Reed, the Environment Secretary, is quoted in one of the papers today saying that, this is only going to affect a small percentage of farms, which is wrong, apparently, according to farmers I speak to. And he says it's all about, basically taxing the rich. And they can't just keep going on about taxing the rich, because the people of this country are, not necessarily hating the rich as much as they are and as much as their supporters are. And they see people who grow food for a living as people that are good people, not bad people.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And if they happen to make a bit of money on the side, fine. They also see employers as good people, not bad people. Yeah. They've got to change the record, haven't they?
Yeah, I think you have to look at the sort of the political decisions. You go back to the winter fuel payment, you look at the farmers, you look at national insurance. Yeah. They're three big decisions. And in some ways, they feel a little bit sort of tone deaf of where the public are. And I know they have to raise money. They talk about this £22 billion. I know it's obviously disputed by the government, but is there a better way of trying to fill that by instead of looking towards pensioners or farmers? Well, because those farms get sold. The people who work there or the families won't have anything to farm. They're the ones who've got that institutional knowledge of how these things work.
Of course, and also there won't be any food coming from those places, which will also lead to problems. But again, the British public are saying to me, at the end of the day, here's Keir Starmer saying he cares about our armed services and our veterans, but most of the people who now are still alive from the Second World War conflict and maybe even the Falklands War are pensioners, and they're having their winter fuel allowance cut. So on the one hand, he's trying to make out that he cares about our veterans, but on the other hand, he's taking away money from them.
Yeah, that is
a very bad look.
That's why it's been a big, and also on the flip side of not giving them the money, you've got the big decision over when we actually get to that defence target. Right. They haven't actually set that
And
out.
Darren Jones at the weekend was very woolly about that, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, the government have said quite clearly there's going to be this strategic defence review that's taking place right now, and they will set out a path to that in the spring. But what message does it send out to the people, the Russia or North Korea or Iran, this axis of evil, if we're not setting out how we're going to get to that 2.5%? Some people say it should be 3%. Yeah. So I think it would probably instill a little bit more confidence in the public and send the right message to NATO, send the right message to Donald Trump, if they just got on with it. I mean, we're at 2.3%. Surely it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we can set out that.
They've found money for things that they want to find money for, including climate change, by the way, because don't forget there's billions and billions and billions of pounds going overseas to help climate change in different countries to ours. And apparently today he's facing demands to pay into a $1 trillion climate fund. So I bet you he finds some money for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be... I mean, the thing is, with all these big decisions on paying into the £1 trillion, is how is it going to look at home? So I think not only is he going to have big demands when it comes to the environmental stuff. I was in Samoa the other week for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, where he was getting calls on reparations. Now he's saying, look, and I think what will probably happen is we're not going to pay you the sort of the money up front, sort of in cash, as it were. But if there's some sort of climate sort of projects that we can help you with, we obviously do have a international aid budget, whether some of that money goes towards it. You just wonder whether there's maybe a clever way of spending, a few £100 million or a few £1 billion on things like that. But whether we sort of give the cash up front like that, I'd be surprised.
Yeah, exactly. Final word on the assisted dying bill. That's coming up for conversation this week. We're going to be talking to Alan Miller about it in a little while. A lot of people concerned about the speed with which the government are kind of pushing this through. Yeah,
now, obviously they published the draft legislation last night. There won't be the first vote on that until the end of the month. But it does seem, are there enough protections in place for people? Now, I think there is a line in that bill that says that that coercion obviously can't be used. There are safeguards. How 2 doctors have got to sign it off, then it's got to go to a high court judge. But you just wonder that it's and also Sir Keir Starmer, I don't think he said one way or the other whether he's going to back it or not. I don't think Wes Streeting's on side with it. So one of these sort of this idea that sounded maybe a good idea in opposition to bring legislation forward. I think when push comes to shove, it's going to it might be a little bit more difficult to get over the line.
And finally, just one story in the Sun this morning, which we haven't mentioned this morning yet. Russian tyrant Vladimir Putin came within hours of firing a nuclear weapon against Ukraine. This was when Liz Truss was Prime Minister.
Yeah, big story. And if Liz Truss didn't have enough to worry about in the last few days, she had this. And I think in Downing Street, they were looking at weather systems and they were working out whether on satellite systems to work out whether the nuclear fallout could have affected Britain.
Wow. So it was a serious worry.
I think it was a serious worry in here. I think there was also concerns in America. I think there was a 50% chance of Putin actually pressing the button. So it was scary times. I think you remember around that time there were big concerns.
And there was talk of a sort of tactical local nuclear weapon being used and all of that sort of stuff. Yeah, fascinating stuff. Ryan, thanks very much indeed. Ryan Sabey, political correspondent, deputy political editor, I should say, at The Sun.